I did my first video, but I didn't really introduce myself. I see a lot of people say that they are micro bakers or they have farm stands. That's not me. I'm actually a financial advisor, so I help people retire, and when I'm not thinking about all of those things, I'm always thinking about sourdough. So that's who I am. Over the last year, I've baked 100, maybe 200 loaves of bread. My family loves it. The people I give it to love it. So I'm glad that I can share it with you. And so today I want to show you the things that I use when I am baking. First thing that I would suggest is this book right here, Flour, Water, Salt, Yeast. This is by Ken Forkish. The first part of this book starts with regular bread using commercial yeast to help you get used to the method of baking bread. There are some very complex recipes, but there are also some basic recipes in here, which is fantastic. The main ingredients that you need, obviously, are those four things, but most importantly, you need a starter. This is my starter, which is a stiff starter, and I will do another video on how I got to this. Tools. You need something to put your bread in. I see lots of people that have different shapes in bowls. I use this size of a bowl. I think this is a 6-liter container. It has a lid, so I do all of my dough work in here. I do not put it on the counter until we're ready for that final shaping. That way everything is contained in here. I also have a 2-liter one, and this is where I do, sometimes we'll do a large amount of starter. If I am going from this amount and need enough starter for 4 or 5 loaves, I will use something like this. These are also with lids, and they're great to have in your kitchen in general. Everything is easier once you get away from cups and go to grams. It just makes everything a little bit more precise. When you start looking at baker's percentages, it makes things a lot easier. I got this one off of Amazon. And then because I have this scale, I think you need a smaller little gram scale. And this is because when you're doing the starter and you need 5 grams or you need 10 grams of salt, I find that these big ones don't really do small quantities that well. Temperature is important. I think you need to have a thermometer, again, an Amazon purchase. You do not need to have a dough whisk, but it is helpful when you're doing more than one loaf to get in there. The other nice thing about these round containers is that you can get into the crevices pretty easily with this, so it's great. Once you've bulk proofed the dough, and we'll talk about that later, and you're ready to do a final shaping for a cold proof if that's the way you decide to go, or just have it sit out on the counter or put it in the freezer for an hour. The whole purpose of everything when I'm making sourdough is to make sure that sourdough doesn't control me, I control the sourdough. And so if you're gonna go with this kind of shape, it's nice to have one of these, or you can go into this shape and have this style. I also, because I have those two, this one, this is a bread sling, which when you're putting it into a Dutch oven or putting it into a bread oven or even putting it open bake on stone, it's very handy to have one of these. And I also have one that's very well loved, which is this size. I always keep a notepad with me. I write things down, write my recipes down, so I've got that. And because I like to stay organized, I have some painter's tape. This is great for when we're doing several loaves of dough to know how many stretch and folds I have. I get busy, I forget if I'm on 2 or 3. I like to write down temperatures, all sorts of things. This comes really handy. That's everything that you need to get started. I'll see you on the next one.